Reporting to the media this week at Post-Executive Council media briefing are the Secretary with responsibility for infrastructure and public utilities, Councillor Gary Melville, and the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Community Development and Culture, Assemblyman Ansel Dennis.
Let me start by bringing us up to date on the policy towards the management of community centers that my division is engaged in presently. As you would have known, the process would have begun last December. We went through a process of consultation meetings in communities across Tobago. Those meetings would have ended in March. We're at the stage now where we're revisiting all the views and submissions that would have been made at the various meetings at the communities. And we're now putting those ideas into an initial draft document that will then be taken to the Executive Council for approval. Once the approval is granted, it will be then released to the public for more comments and consultations. We expect that that process should be completed by the end of this month, and further consultations, I think a 2-month period will be granted for that. So I think it's safe to say that we should begin to implement this policy sometime in September. Apart from that, the division has a number of developmental programs taking place at community centers across Tobago. And I think sometimes the focus really is on infrastructural development. And this division is paying specific attention to the development of people. And let me first of all congratulate the members of staff of the Department of Community Development who have been working tirelessly and feverishly towards delivering these programs to people at the community level. We have ongoing, first of all, the capacity building workshop that would have started last month. It started off with the leadership program. I think last week we would have done the fundraising segment of that program. And it continues until September, where we'll be offering programs in other areas such as ethics and accountability, project planning and implementation, and various other areas such as mediation, etc. And this is because we recognize that with the strongest and most decent government, the development of the island will not be possible if we don't have effective leadership at the community level. And therefore, the focus of these programs is really to build capacity at the level of the communities, and I'm talking about the village councils, the sporting organizations, and the various other organizations that exist within our communities, even the churches. Apart from that, we would have started the vocational skills training program that would have started last March, I think. And that program will be running for a period of about 2 to 3 months. And this is where we facilitate training to the people again at the community level in programs such as drapery, garment construction, bread, cakes and pastries, food preparation, upholstery, and photography. And again, we're providing training to the people of Tobago so that they could be afforded personal development. And at the end of the day, some of these people will even be qualified at CVQ level in certain areas. Later this month, we'll be embarking on an initiative called Macho. And this is where we focus on the men on the island. We look at the issues affecting the male species, issues as it relates to finances, as it relates to health, and as it relates to relationships, both in marriages and relationships outside of marriages, and even the relationships that men should have with their kids, and even in the workplace. So we're targeting the men. That program is going to start later on this month. Stay tuned for the exact dates, and we'll be focusing on the men to develop them in all these areas and to assist with some of the issues that today's men in society are facing. Next month, we'll be doing the female version of that program, which is titled I Am Woman. Again, we're targeting the women, and we're dealing with a number of issues that affect women today. Health issues, financial issues, relationship issues, domestic violence, leadership, and all those issues. And I want to specifically mention the Girls Talk segment, where we'll be bringing together a number of females I think it's even targeted towards the schools. And we bring them together and really discuss frankly and openly some of the issues that are affecting women in society today, especially in the Tobago context. And not only will the issues be discussed, but solutions to some of these problems and ideas that could bring relief in some of these areas will be coming forward from the various facilitators. And of course, we must talk about infrastructural development. As you will know, this division as well is embarking on a number of community center projects, refurbishments, new community centers, and even Y zones. And we intended to deliver 7 Y zones to the people of Tobago, 5 of which have been delivered thus far. We have 2 more to be delivered. Those are the Y zones in Plymouth and Mason Hall. We are hoping that by the end of this month, these Y zones will be completed, and dates should be set sometime next month to commission these Y zones. Apart from that, we have the Bethesda Community Center and the Lowlands Community Center, which have been outstanding for some time. And of course, Mr. Melville will tell you afterwards some of the issues that we are having with MTS, with various projects across the Assembly. So I'll leave that for him to deal with. Apart from that, we have the Lambeau Community Center, which is about 85% completed, and we're expecting that this facility will be delivered to the people by the end of August. Before I hand over to Secretary Melville, I want to discuss some of the happenings at my electoral district. There have been widespread paving taking place in the electoral district, and of course I must thank Mr. Melville again, Secretary of Infrastructure and Public Utilities, because the people of Mount Pleasant in particular has experienced new roads, particularly those people in Robert Trace, Clark Trace, the main road in Mount Pleasant. Apart from paving, the people in Canby would have experienced severe problems with drainage in the past. And if you go to Canby on any given morning, you will see a team from that division, Mr. Melville's division, working feverishly to, bring relief to the people of Canby. So they are presently doing some serious work as it relates to drainage and that sort of thing. Apart from that, there are 2 major initiatives taking place in the electoral district in the area of sport. And let me congratulate the Buku Ballpark Club, of course, out of Buku, and the Canby Mount Pleasant Sports Club, who both are embarking on 2 leagues, which are indeed providing activities for the young people to partake in, and really an alternative for the young men in particular. So those 2 leagues are happening right now, so if you have some time, come down to Buku. I think the league takes place in Buku every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night from 7 p.m. and the games run until around 11 p.m. And this league is going to be going, I think, until the end of next month. Mount Pleasant, on the other hand, it's every night under the lights. Apart from that, the Carib Dixieland Steel Orchestra, they launched their Pan Summer program last week, and that program is going to be running through until September, where a number of young people from as young as the age of 5 up to 17, right, will be partaking in training and on the national instrument.
As everyone would be aware, and as was mentioned by the Assistant Secretary, our road resurfacing and our paving program continues. Thus far, we have paved 36 roads as of the end of May, as of the beginning of this week. 36 roads will have been paved at various places throughout Tobago. Of course, some of the more identifiable ones would have been the paving of the area around the roundabout at Shaw Park, the Bacolec Connector Road. We have recently done the Dutch Fort Road. But throughout various communities, we see a number of roads have been paved. We are hoping to start a new cycle of paving sometime shortly, where we would look at some other major challenges that we have in Tobago, one of them being the Claude Noel Highway, especially that area between, let's say, between Rockleyville or between Collar Hall and Orange Hill is in need of resurfacing, and the Roxbury Bloody Bay Road are areas we're hoping to tackle later on in the year. The Division of Infrastructure and Public Utilities of course, has also embarked upon the widening of the culverts in the Lambo area, at the Pascal Village area in Lambo. The culverts have been completed. We are waiting more or less for the concrete to cure, if you want to put it that way. And we're doing some additional works around there in terms of the drainage and a little uplift to the road. And we are hoping that those works will be completed by the end of next week. So shortly we will be reopening that section of the Milford Road. And drivers should have a much better experience. We are, of course, expecting work to begin on the bridge near to the current abattoir sometime within the next month or two. And of course, we are targeting to do the other two bridges along the Milford Road because we want to provide the Milford Road as a major artery alternative to the Claude Noel Highway. You would know, for example, that you would know by now that in the news we have had some negative information out there about the closure of the Electrical Inspectorate office. And I want to apologize to the public of Tobago. As the Secretary of the Division, I want to apologize to the public of Tobago for any inconvenience that they have been experiencing because of the closure to the office. The division has not been proactive enough in terms of ensuring that the staff at that section would have had appropriate and suitable accommodation. And as Secretary, I have to take responsibility. It has been an ongoing issue for a very long time. I have been informed by the administrator of the division that work has been ongoing on a building up at the fort. That work should be completed by Friday, and therefore the workers of the Electoral Inspectorate should have access to suitable accommodation by Monday the 9th, and hopefully the office will reopen and the Tobago public can be served. So again, let me apologize to the public for the inconvenience. Let me also apologize to the workers in the sense that the division would have put them on to work under conditions that were less than what they deserve or what was suitable. In terms of the division, of course, we are engaged in a number of building projects. Before I start to give an update about some of those, I would venture to speak about the situation concerning the Charlottesville Mini Mall, which has been in news again recently in the last week or so, based upon a court ruling issued in terms of the project. The division, the assembly, the THA as a whole, would have held a meeting with MTS, who is the major project manager for most of our projects, because we have had a relationship with MTS over a number of years. They would have started with primarily with the Buko complex, and our confidence in their delivery of that project has allowed us to engage them for a number of other projects. In the past few or so years, that relationship has not proven to be as productive as we would have liked. And we now have to take action to ensure that we deliver to the people of Tobago what we have promised them. And so we have to try to bring all those outstanding projects to closure. The situation with the Charlottesville Mini Mall is a good example of where we have not had the kind of service that we're supposed to have from MTS. And therefore, we as an assembly owe it to the people of Tobago not to run away from our responsibility, but to be able to explain to them when things do not go as it should be. And therefore, we are calling upon MTS, we have spoken to them, we are calling upon them for them to hold up their end of the bargain, because we continue to be embarrassed by our failure to deliver, when a lot of that is sometimes outside of our hands because of the arrangements that we are involved in. In the case of the Charlottesville Mini Mall, the ruling of the court was that we had not fulfilled all statutory requirements for the building to start or for the project to continue. I don't know if you would be aware that there are generally two groups of statutory requirements: the town and country planning approval, and in some cases a certificate of environmental clearance from the EMA. MTS is responsible for ensuring that all those approvals were obtained. They would have had outline approval from town and country planning. They would have chosen to, based upon their interpretation, based upon MTS interpretation of the regulations of the EMA, they would have chosen not to undertake an application for a full CEC, a full Certificate of Environmental Clearance. What they opted to do instead was to apply for a CEC for the wastewater treatment or wastewater aspect of the project. Clearly, by the ruling of the judge, he disagreed with that, and that there are other areas that had to be included. And so therefore, a full CEC is required for the project. It is not as if the Assembly did anything wrong. We engaged a project manager, relied upon them for their technical expertise. They would have made a judgment call in terms of applying for the CEC. That judgment call obviously was considered to be wrong by the court. So it's not really a judgment against the Assembly. What has to happen now is that MTS has to ensure that they get a full CEC done, get the full CEC approval, and on that basis, the project will be able to restart or to continue. They have undertaken, therefore, to meet with the EMA and to do a full application for a full Certificate of Environmental Clearance for the project. We expect that process to take some months. The only issue there would be if they have asked for an environmental impact assessment, an EIA, which takes a very long period. But MTS has said that they were assured by the EMA that no EIA would be required. That's the rule from MTS. So we have had our challenges with MTS projects, as Mr. Dennis would have explained. We have a number of community centers that are 95, 98% complete, such as the Bethesda one. We have the one at Lowlands, and we have a major upgrade at Lambo. We have demanded from MTS, and they have assured us that they would deliver those 3 projects to us by the 30th of June, and we want to hold them to that. And this is also our contractor in terms of the completion of the Scarborough Library. At this present point in time, there are 3 outstanding things with the Scarborough Library. The building is complete, the internal building is complete. The contractor should be out of that building by the end of this week, MTS would have assured us. They have external works to complete, which should be done by the end of the month. There's a sprinkler system and fire suppression system that has to be installed. And there's also the ICT contract, which would be the information and communication technology aspects of the project, because a modern-day library has to be fully computerized. That process has been tendered for already. The approvals are now being obtained. So we should have the contractor selected and starting to put in place that ICT contract within the next week or so. The building has already been wired by TSCT for that purpose. So there's no more question of getting the right equipment and putting that in. The furniture and so on for the building is already inside there, the shelving, the books and so on. And we have instructed MTS, the Tobago House of Assembly has instructed MTS that we want the library delivered to us by the end of August so that the library can be available for Tobago's children for the new school year. I want to repeat that. We are demanding from MTS that the library be delivered to us by the end of August so that we can open the library and have it available for Tobago's children for the start of the 2014 school year. As part of that process, the Division of Infrastructure and Public Utilities, together with the Scarborough Beautification Committee, we will undertake some activities in that area with the old amphitheater and so on to clean up that area, provide public washroom facilities, and do some beautification and lighting there so that that area can also be part of that complex that in addition to the library space. The division has also been engaged in constructing a mini mall at Argyle. That mini mall is now about 95% complete, and we expect to deliver it to the people of Argyle by the 3rd week of June. So that Argyle mini mall would be complete. We also have of course, one of the major building project being the Shore Park Cultural Complex. At this time, work continues apace on the building. They are now heavily engaged in treating with the external works there, the car park area and so on. And of course, attention has now been turned to the outfitting of the building. We continue to target a December 2014 date for the completion, commissioning, and handing over of the Shore Park complex. We have engaged interior designers who have now, we are now engaging some interior contractors to be able to start that outfitting process of all the various rooms in the various areas and rooms in the Shore Park Cultural Complex. There are a number of performance rooms and so on, a number of different areas there, beside the main seating area and the main performance area. And works are now about to begin to start that outfitting, so that we expect that with the progress of those works, we'll be able to keep to our deadline and to deliver the Shore Park Cultural Complex to Tobago public in December of 2014. For the most part, as I said, the division continues to work quite hard at delivering infrastructure to the public of Tobago. We are engaged in doing a number of drainage projects, a number of retaining walls and so on throughout Tobago, working on a number of main roads, such as the Arnorsville Road into Lekito, which we are upgrading and providing drainage and widening the carriageway. Because Tobago now has a tremendous increase in the volume of traffic, and therefore the challenge for the division is to be able to create proper carriageway to ensure that persons are able to get about their business within a reasonable portion of time. It is one of the things that we will be looking at significantly in the upcoming 2015 financial year. Excuse me. We are hoping that we can be able to source resources to provide upgrades to a number of bypass roads, in addition to such as, for example, the Storby Local Road, extending to Chauvin Road, linking up with that old Milford Road, and possibly seeking to see if we can do some dualing some parts of the Claude Noel Highway so that we can be able to increase traffic flows.
My information that one of the rulings from the judge was that the demolition of some of the vendors that were on the beachfront was illegal on the part of the THA. Do you have any comment to make on that?
I'm not a lawyer, so I would not really want to tread in that particular area. What I do know is that the issue is that the certificate of environmental clearance, that process was not handled properly by MTS. I would not pretend to understand whether or not the legal ramifications that we conducted any illegal activity, because as far as I'm aware, it is not a judgment. What happened on Monday, from my understanding, is not a judgment. While the Assembly has to pay the costs and so on for the court process, it is not as if the Assembly is not being penalized in any form or fashion. What it is that the Assembly, based upon the judge's ruling, we have to ensure that we get all of the relevant statutory approvals. As to whether or not that was an illegal activity, I would prefer to get some kind of a legal opinion on that, because I am not that familiar with the whole judgment and what that basically includes.
Are you aware of the fact that there's a number of people in Charlottesville that are not in agreement with the project, and so for them, this is seen as a victory for them, in the sense that, the project is not going forward?
Development is some people say development is a journey, so that it is not a one-spot activity or a continuous process. I think if you come up with any activity in any community, even an activity in your home, if you live as part of a family, and sometimes simple as something as deciding to change the color of the house, everybody may not be in agreement. One of the things I think might be worthwhile is if someone wants to would do, for example, a proper poll, good size sample in Charlottesville, to determine where the majority of the people in Charlottesville stand where this project is concerned. Because, it reminds me also of the Charlottesville Jetty, which has a project that was also stopped because of, agitation on the part of some persons. I have relatives in Charlottesville, because my grandmother came from Charlottesville. I communicate with other people in Charlottesville. The majority of the people I talk to from Charlottesville want the mall project, want the jetty extension. There are people who are obviously very much opposed to it. But that, as I said, is what happens in any community. We see in Trinidad, for instance, that we have this major, the Point 14 highway, and we have persons opposed on different sides of the fence where that project is concerned. When the Claude Noel Highway was being built, there were a number of persons in Tobago who were opposed to that road being built. Now, can you imagine what Tobago would look like today if we did not have that road? That road is now not even adequate again for our traffic volumes. So any development will always have pros and will have cons. I think the Assembly, based upon my knowledge of the process, would have done a lot of consultation with the Charlottesville public. I was present in Charlottesville on about 3 occasions where we had meetings with the community, explaining the process, taking people's opinion. Of course, you had persons who were not in favor, but for the large part, most of the people attending those meetings were in favor. So again, I don't think it's really about a victory for anybody. I think it's really about, for us in the Assembly, that we have to follow due process and follow the law, and we have to ensure that the persons that we employ on our behalf do that. And the spirit of democracy is alive and well in Tobago, where people can challenge the Assembly or challenge the state on particular issues. And I don't think that is a bad thing at all.
Is there any means of well, they talk about the poll, but is there any means of seeking consultation so probably you could pacify the situation as it is?
My memory of the situation was that there was significant consultation in the past. I think the persons, I think the persons who have an issue with the project, they have a particular view on things, and there are persons who may have a different view. I think we in the Assembly, what we try to do, or what we should be seeking to do, is to work with our communities in a manner where we try to do do what the majority of the persons in a community would want. Because as I said before, if you think about doing any project, there are always going to be people who for, people who are against. I think the process is what is important. And I don't know if at this particular point in time, if we can go back, we can revisit that process, and if it would have any significant difference in terms of what the outcome is. For my understanding of the situation, you know, when we look at Tobago, and in terms of Tobago's infrastructural development, we have to make choices. We can try to be too modern at one extreme. We can probably try to retain too much at the other extreme. We probably need balance. But my own personal opinion on that is that I think the THA would have done this process of consultation, and the project agreed upon would have been what the majority of the people in the community would have wanted.
Pertaining to the electoral inspectorate, from the comments from I think this is the head inspector, they were saying that they seem to be having some difficulty establishing communication with the Division of Works. I don't know if you could comment on that.
I have not had any reports from anybody that they came to see me or tried to see me and didn't get to see me. I know the process, from what I understand, it has been an ongoing process because the satisfaction with the housing has been there for a while. And I think the division again would have been tardy in not addressing that issue. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's no excuses for what happened there. I think the division has to take full responsibility that it would have recognized that there were shortcomings in the accommodation for the staff, and a process actually started a long time ago to refurbish a building to accommodate the staff. That process should have been fast-tracked, and by now that would not have been an issue, you know. But there has been some, I believe that there have been some issues in terms of communication between different parties where this is concerned, because for one, the administrator would have reported to me that no one would have consulted her or informed her of the closure of the inspectorate. So there has not really been the kind of dialogue. And if that is what you're referring to, well, there maybe has not been the kind of dialogue, and maybe there's something that we need to look at as we go forward to improve upon.
Thank you for tuning in to another Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council media briefing for the week ending June 7th, 2014.